gave this program a foundation that maybe we'll never mark on the wall, but we'll always mark it in terms of future success. We're led by a couple of guys who stood the test of time. A lot of the guys in those 10 seniors were walk-ons who earned scholarships, and that's a tribute to their toughness, their acuity, and their dedication to what they believe in a greater mission. The ironic thing is that there were only 3 guys that survived their recruiting class. And next year it's even worse. Only 1 guy survives as a 5th-year senior out of the last recruiting class of the previous coaching staff, and that's Nick Beckman. So the attrition rate in this program for a while was a huge bloodletting. And for us to be competitive this season, a little more competitive this season, shows, with a lot of youthful guys, shows that at least there were some guys at the top who were showing the way, and those 10 seniors did a nice job of that, so I'm proud of those guys.
Question. Was this the season you were kind of hoping to have? Maybe not as successful, but I mean, you're at least showing that you're trying to turn that corner. Is that what you're hoping for this season?
Well, I know by the calendar it says it's our 3rd year, but in reality, it might be almost our 1st year as a coaching staff. In previous programs, when you've been able to take over a program that's run around, you're able to completely whitewash your roster. You're able to make a complete turnover, and we could not do that given our APR and our limitations of bringing in transfer students. So we literally had to play with what was here, and what was here was difficult to play with. Finally, this year, it was the first year we felt like physically we were able to man our positions, whether it be the offensive line or the defensive line. We were able to man our positions to the point where I felt like we could be competitive. And the numbers bear that out. We went from 72 surrendered touchdowns to 47. That's a 25 touchdown difference over the course of 12 games. So I'm very proud of where we're going to go and how we're getting there. It's just taking a little bit longer given the APR restrictions.
Coach, talk a little bit about your your quarterback Justin Arias. Talk about his progress from the beginning of the season to the end of the season.
Well, I think the first thing we'd talk about, we'd kind of go backwards and say, you have to throw out the last 2 ball games because the weather was so abhorrent that there was really no chance for a guy in a passing offense to show what he could do. The other thing I think that a lot of fans need to realize that we dropped over 131 passes during the course of the year. Had we caught half of those drops, just half, that's another 60 completions. That's another 10 yards per completion. That's another 600 yards. Now we're close to 4,700 yards passing, and a lot more touchdowns, a lot more opportunities. So while Justin does not have that marquee win, does not have that marquee come from behind victory the quarterbacks are really measured by, his supporting cast is going to have to get a little bit better for him to achieve the goals that a good quarterback in a passing offense is going to have.
Looking forward to next year, what do you have coming in? I mean, who are you looking at? I mean, what's the process starting now?
Well, I think it's pretty cool to think that most of our defensive front 7 returns, along with one of the great linebackers that's played here, Mitch Beckstead, one of the premier defensive linemen in the country, and Tyler Cooter. The same thing is true with our offensive front. We return all 5 starters, not including Nick Beckman, who I think is one of the premier offensive linemen in the Big Sky Conference next year, and Thomas Vazorka, who will be recovering from shoulder operation. So we have 7, 8, 9 full-time starters back in the offensive line. We played 6, 7 starters in our defensive line. Our linebacking core, especially when Kirk Carstetter was healthy, was much better than we've been in the past. The big issue for us on defense will be, can we retool our secondary, especially at safety, to be able to make tackles? And on offense, can we improve our ability to catch the ball? I hate to say that with almost 700 pass attempts on the season, but we do not catch the ball like a pass catching team needs to, and we've got to make that a lot better in the offseason.
Talk a little bit of the defensive side of the ball. You said, allowing a lot less touchdowns from 2012. I mean, what do you feel like you can build on this offseason in preparation for 2014?
Well, our run defense. The Big Sky Conference has become a run-oriented league. The quarterbacking is not what it used to be. And we have to have the ability to not only stop the run, but be able to play the run when you spread us out and then run read option. So we got a little bit better at it this year than we were last year. We were much more physical at linebacker. I thought it had a big impact on the way we were playing and how we were playing. The big aspect for me is that our team speed defensively and our tackling ability in space is the issue that we can attend to here in the offseason.
Yeah, well, 275 odd days until fall camp starts again. So that's just adding on to the
1,000
age,
days.
to the 1,000 days, to the age, and growing long in the beard.
No question, Jeff. I mean, we lost 10 seniors, and we don't really. We have 19 seniors next year, but only 5 of them are on offense. Again, offensively, we'll still be freshmen, sophomore dominated next year. We redshirted some true freshmen in our receiving core that I think will be outstanding. We have a young redshirt quarterback and a redshirt tailback I think will be really outstanding. And on defense, we have 3 redshirted linebackers that I think will have a dramatic impact on us right away. Yet there isn't a lot of room for guys to play in those groups because everybody returns as a starter. And I think all the starters, obviously will get better, bigger, more physical, tougher, have a lot more intuition on how to play their position as we begin next fall. A very tough schedule early, opening up with Utah and then Utah State, and then a week off, and then we get into the remaining 10 games of our schedule, which to me I think are all extremely winnable. I like our prognosis. I like where we're at. A year ago at this time, I could not say that because on this day, I was coming downstairs from having let 4 coaches go. We were completely in disarray on where we were at physically, and we had a lot of improvement to make. Right now, I'm excited 270 days from now.
It kind of sounds like if you're going to be freshman and sophomore oriented on offense, are you going to be looking more at your defense even more so next year?
Well, I think number one, there's just 2 plateaus that I really concern myself with, and that's touchdown scored and touchdown surrendered. We've got to stay around the 30 touchdown surrendered plateau as a defense throughout the whole season, and we've got to get to a 50 touchdowns scored plateau on offense. We've been 25, 30, and 31 touchdowns scored in 3 seasons. We've got to somehow find 19 or 20 more touchdowns on offense, be more explosive, have the ability to score from anywhere on the field. Our longest run this year, in a year in which we tried to emphasize the run, was still only 28 yards. So our running game has got to find a way to have a breakout runner, and we've got to find a way to get our running backs to make the final guy miss. And that'll be something we'll be looking at a lot here in spring practice.
How about recruiting running backs?
We return all four scholarship tailbacks. If we take another scholarship tailback at that position, that money's going to have to come out of another position. So that running back's going to have to be really, really good for us to grade any other position. I like us at tight end. I like us at wide out. I like our numbers at offensive line. Yet at running back, you look at that group in total, even though X had a lot of carries and Aaron and Danny played well at times, who's the guy that can strike fear into the hearts of our opposing teams? And it could be X. He's just got to get better in the spring ball and making people miss.
If you could take one moment from this year, put it into a picture, frame it, put it up in your house somewhere, what moment would that be?
On a Tuesday morning practice out here, I asked Brennan Garcia, it's one more kick and you break the school record. He said, I would rather not kick any more field goals and win the game on Saturday. And for a guy who finished as a second team All Big Sky kicker, a guy who improved greatly throughout the year, to me that was a very poignant moment, a very adroit statement by a guy who really didn't care about personal accolades and put the team first, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing for me to be around.
What's the biggest change you've seen
Our
from day one that you walked in to now?
Oh, our offensive and defensive lines. I mean, our offensive line was very good when I got here, but they didn't know how to play. They had no concept on how to play. And we looked at Braden Clayson and Brad Shedd and Mark Clampett and David Tyler and some of the we looked good, but we had no idea how to play. Now our offensive line looks good and they know how to play. And the same thing's true with our defensive line. With Tyler Cooter, Austin Graves, Robbie McAsee, a couple of young guys that are in that group, Derek Berry, we look good and we're learning how to play. And I think our offensive defensive line improvement is probably the thing I'm most proud of up to this point.
What was the biggest challenge for you this season?
Well, obviously to settle our defense down, to get our defense to be able to go on the field and get some 3 and outs. And of course, through the last 4 weeks, we got blooded. We got a little worn out and got blooded by 3 very good teams offensively. And then on Saturday, in a game when we really had to stand on top of the issue with our defense, we surrendered a long drive in the opening drive and then settled down defensively, played pretty well throughout the rest of the day. However, allowing that one drive gave Weaver State enough momentum to beat us. And what we have to do defensively is find a way to own the opposing team from play 1 to the last series.
I know there's plenty of things that you as a coach feel like you need to work on. What's the one most important thing?
There's two things that I would say. They're on my board upstairs right now. We need to tackle better, and we need to catch the ball. Just two things that are just so evident if you watch us over and over again. We keep a missed tackle tape, and we keep a drop ball tape. And I want to see both those be a lot smaller next year, because as a passing team, those drops are disastrous because they erode our own confidence. And missed tackles are about the same thing. So missed tackling ability, our ability to tackle, especially in the open field at safety, and our ability to catch the ball over the middle when no one else is around us. We just had too many drops, and I felt sorry for our radio crew throughout the season, because there would be times when there would be drops, and if I'd have been doing play-by-play, which I can't do, but I would have sat there and gone, that's another drop, followed by about a minute of silence while I just silently said things to myself that nobody else needed to hear. So just too many drop passes for a team to win enough games, and too many missed tackles for a defense to stop anybody.
Is the reception of Idaho State from recruits, kids that you're talking to now, is it better than it was before?
I think it's outstanding, Jerry, just because we're so good academically. When you walk into a house and you tell your mom and dad that we're going to recruit your son on a scholarship, and we want him to come to Pocatello, Idaho, and play in a program that has a tremendous game field, a tremendous practice field, an outstanding weight room, a great looking locker room. Oh, and by the way, we graduate every single player that comes into our program. We have 1,000 APR. We're coming in with things that parents need to know, need to hear, and it's welcome news to all of our recruits. So we're excited about being able to recruit not only in Idaho, but in the Pacific Northwest and on the West Coast. We're probably not going to do much forays into the central part of the United States unless it's for a real special guy. But the reception around our recruiting areas has been very positive.
I'm good.
I think so.
And is there anything better than a day completely dedicated to eating?
And football.
And football. In that order. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.